We've had DJ Dozier and also Dr. Michael Weatherly on this show before at Radio Row, and they're back. And I just asked you, by the way, welcome both of you. If you'd gone to the game on campus, the Penn State game and SMU, and what'd you say?
Too cold.
Too cold. You played there, though.
Oh, yes. But there's a difference when you're moving.
Yeah. And you're sitting. Yeah.
Have you become like, where do you live now? Have you become like Southernized where?
To a certain degree. So we live in Virginia.
Okay. All right. So you get cold.
Yeah.
And look, we're from Texas and I grew up in Florida.
Right.
Like anytime something that's not, that's solid falls from the sky, I start praying. I mean, I don't know what's going on. I don't understand it. So.
Right.
It snowed like hell here about 2 weeks ago.
Really? Oh, that's right.
Here?
Yeah. We got
10
some
inches.
of that in Virginia.
I mean, like LSU Tiger Stadium covered. Like it looked as if you could have been in like Wisconsin or something like that.
Yeah, we got some of that in Virginia.
Yeah, a little bit. Not that much.
But
only 3 inches.
Not that. Okay, so Dr. Weatherly, again, sports innovation, marketing, consulting, all of the things you do, and you have to you can't blink anymore, can you? Because technology is changing so much.
Yeah, this is a conversation that we have on a daily basis. I mean, it's hard to keep up, and that's what the teams and the athletes that we work with, it's the same thing. They've always got someone pitching them the best new mousetrap, and so they don't have time to weed through all of that technology, and so they look at us as a tech scout, just like they would a scout to scout talent, and we help scout the technology, and so we help bridge the gap between those innovators that have interesting technology and then the teams and the athletes.
What are some of the things that people would know that you've brought to the world?
Yeah, can we talk about those things?
I mean, are they yeah.
I mean, a lot
The
of
microphone a little bit closer.
A lot of wearables.
Yeah.
So, and some things that you wouldn't necessarily know. Obviously, the NFL with a lot of like naming rights and things like that, so they got to be kind of careful with what goes on the body of the person. We actually are working a lot with the teams when you talk about fan engagement. So some of the technologies you might not even know, but you're like interacting with it on a daily basis or at the stadium. Yeah.
You might not even know.
Right. That's scary, right? Like
tomorrow,
think about artificial intelligence alone is like changing the way we interact with everything right now.
That is nuts. How much of playing football helps you do what you do now?
Oh, it gives a high level of application, right? And understanding the technology and how it can apply to a specific position or to the sport in general, without a doubt. And as Mike was saying, the scouting now is not just U.S.-related patents and technology, but global. So, he's hired a few other folks to now go after global technology, and I do mean global. So
yeah, we've got companies in Switzerland, the UK, Israel, I mean, anywhere. And we're even working with, like, some of the Premier League teams in English football. So it's not just NFL, it's the other football.
How did you start that part of it? Could you have imagined when all this?
Never.
Like you may be in Texas and California or maybe Georgia or whatever, but now, I mean, that's unbelievably quick too.
Yeah, I mean, it's been a fun ride and been great to be partnered up with DJ here. Obviously, the connection to the NFL, and now we're working with MLB, NBA, and a little bit of everybody. I mean, I grew up in a small town in northeastern North Carolina, talking about cold, hot and cold, thin blood over here. So I don't like the snow either. But yeah, I mean, now being part owner of a couple minor league sports teams, and it's been a wild ride the last few years, and I'm just happy to be here. Honestly, be partnered up with DJ.
DJ, one of the last two sports stars that we had. I mean, it was you and Dion Bowe, all like right there at the same. Brian Hunter, all kind of at the same time. I'm sure I'm probably leaving one other out, but like though you guys did that, and it's hard enough to be a professional athlete in one thing. To do it in two things is unbelievable. Now, I don't think we're seeing that as much as we are seeing like somebody like Ohtani or Travis Hunter that just never comes off the field. Do you see a little bit of what you guys did in those guys that are just special athletes that can just kind of do everything?
Yeah, no, I think Ohtani especially. I mean, what he has accomplished and what I've seen, to be – I mean, I think, let's face it, as human beings, we put labels on any kind of activity, right, where it's easy for us to sort of put it in a box. And so when something happens and it's outside that box, it's obviously something special. When in reality, most of us, especially in the two-sport space, I played 3 sports growing up in high school and up through high school. Was supposed to play 2 in college, right? Both Bo and Dion played 2 in college. And so it definitely takes a little extra. But when the driving force, at least from my perspective, when the driving force is the fact that it's a game that you can have fun, and it's less work, then anything's possible. And I think, again, going back to Ohtani, being able to pitch and hit, it's something that someone decided, pitchers can't hit. But when you're talented,
I mean, normally they can't. Let's be
right.
real.
Well, no, because they don't get any at bats, right?
Yeah.
I mean, I've seen some hitters that can. I mean, some pitchers that can hit pretty well, but without the at bats, you just can't get better. But I love seeing things like that in athletics when you move outside that box.
Yeah, it's weird that you said somebody sometime decided, I don't want the pitchers to hit anymore.
Right.
And then, that was just the thing. And you're like, well, why would you not? Like, if they're good at it, why not let them do it?
Right.
So I'm hoping that Ohtani, creates some.
Breaks the mold almost.
Yeah, you like innovations. I hope, some innovation happens where, hey, no, I can do both.
Yeah.
Let's figure it out.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And it's the same thing they would say about shortstops, right? You spend so much time, or catchers, you spend so much time on defense that they don't worry about your batting average or your hitting ability. And I think that's changed as
Or
well.
you can't be tall. Cal Ripken broke that mold.
That's exactly
can't
right.
Be tall,
Yeah.
Right.
So when you were growing up, did you play all the sports? Because there's this big push because if you don't do these camps, if you don't do club ball, and I hate that philosophy.
Yeah, I do too.
I want to play everything I can. And because you know what? Like someone like me, it's going to end a lot earlier than 99% of people. It's going to end earlier.
Yes.
So playing all of the sports, and I have rarely met a professional athlete that didn't do that. But you hear all this pressure you got to go to all these camps, you got to go to all this. What's your philosophy on that?
I don't like it. I mean,
we agree on this, so yeah.
Yeah, I don't like that because there's so much benefit in variety, right? And I know I have former teammates that are adults, obviously, and they have kids that have played baseball, for example, was a pitcher, and they've already had Tommy John surgery at 14. Why? Because it's overusage.
Yep.
And so you're playing, high school, you're playing club ball or travel ball, and then you've got another team you're playing for, right? So if you're a pitcher and
sometimes at the same time.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Exactly. So all the activity is not necessarily all positive, especially if you're a pitcher.
Do you think that velocity now has gotten a little out of control? Kurt Schilling was on the show yesterday, and he was about, 95, 96? That's plenty fast.
Right.
It's hard to hit, right?
Right.
Yeah. Now, I know 107 is hard to hit, but Kurt Schilling, had a long career. These other guys are having surgery, every 2 years because they're hitting 105. Well, that's cool, but is it physically sustainable by human standards? I don't think it is.
They're throwers now, not pitchers.
Right, right.
Well, the one thing we can all agree on is humans aren't machines.
Yeah.
So at some point it has to plateau. I have no idea where that is. To imagine that someone could throw it at 107.
Yeah, I sometimes wonder the jugs gun, or even at stadiums when they would put the speed up like 98, 90.
Yeah, 99.
And I started
like a
wondering if it's like I always blame the police officer who stops me. You've got one of those things that's 5 miles an hour above what really I was doing. That didn't work very well. But
just out of curiosity, was the toughest pitcher you ever faced, was he a fireballer, or was it somebody like Maddox who could tie you in knots throwing 88 miles an hour?
Yeah, no, I hated the heat.
Yeah, okay.
Especially the guys that were tall.
Yeah.
And by the time they release the ball, they're in your kitchen.
Downhill,
right?
Yeah.
Right. But no, that along with the left-handed changeup was rough for me.
So Glavine was not your favorite?
No. I never faced Glavine, but I did face the Braves in spring training once.
Okay.
I forget the pitcher's name, but that's actually when Dion and I met. But no, I mean that left-handed changeup was a mess for me.
speaking of Dion, and I want to get into the fact you own a couple of professional teams. I don't care what level it is. That's just so cool. It's been pretty damn nice story what's happened with him in Colorado. They blew up early and did so well, and then of course they came back to earth. But then this year they They made some changes. They tweaked it. They got more, and had a nice run. They got beat up by BYU, but they had a nice run. Your thoughts about him as a head coach in football?
Well, you think about it, the fact that he played 2 sports, right? All the success that he had in both arenas, his personality, he's relentless. He wants to find the way to success, and he's going to do it because, any of us that want to be successful at anything, the part of the key is realizing that success doesn't knock on your door. You got to go knock on it, and if it doesn't open, then you've got to knock it down. And if you can't knock it down, you got to go around. And so that relentlessness, I think, is what Dion has. And so he's going to find a way to be successful at whatever he's doing because of that, in my opinion.
Is that what you had to do to get in the business world? Can you?
Absolutely.
I mean, did you ever lose? Did you ever? You have to have failure before you can understand maybe what you need to do to get better, and you just kind of.
Yeah, I mean, I had that athletic background. I played baseball in college. I played baseball and football in high school. So, I mean, that was built into me as well. And once it was all over for me in college, because I had hopes of playing pro and it didn't work out like DJ did, I was like, I got to do something else. And that's how I got into the business world. And I still have that fight mentality on a daily basis. I'm waking up at 4:30. I'm grinding. I want to keep growing my business, and that's where we have such a good partnership.
So what's it like being the guy who's one of the decision makers?
It's wild, man. I got to tell you, I say this all the time. So I have part ownership. I had part ownership in the Hickory Crawdads. So part of the Rangers organization. We got a World Series ring out of that one. And so that organization actually got bought out. So that was as of last year. But I still also have ownership in the Norfolk Admirals hockey team in the ECHL. We made a good run at the Kelly Cup last year. And we're having an amazing season this year, by the way. And my business partner, Patrick Cavanaugh there, he's a former NHL guy. I mean, he is legit. And I always tell this story. It's a local team. And my granddad used to take me to those games when I was a little boy. I used to sit in section 214, top row, like I'm talking nosebleed seats because we couldn't afford those seats. And now we've got a suite on the ice right by the opposing bench where we can give them heck all day long. And I'm like right there in the middle of all of it and part of the team. And just to go from like that nosebleed seat to where I am now, I mean, I just feel so blessed and thank God every day I wake up, honestly.
How big is your company?
So we have across all the businesses I have, we have almost 200 employees. So, and I have several other different businesses, but that's about how big we are.
How do you have like someone that you probably are pretty much in control because you get up 4:30, all that, but do you have somebody that has to make sure they keep you on track of where you're supposed to be?
Absolutely. For every one of the businesses.
A few of those, right?
And also my wife really keeps me on track.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. No, I mean, all the businesses have very, good systems and processes in place, and we have amazing employees.
Golly.
And they're the ones that keep it all going, honestly.
All right, be honest. Have you ever gone to a meeting you thought it was for a minor league baseball team, but it was for something else?
Yeah, absolutely. I got to tell you, I show up for stuff all the time. I'm like, where am I supposed to be? That's why I need the help.
That's awesome, though. I mean,
I don't know how he does it.
And you've done it in a short amount of time.
Yeah.
How did you guys meet now? I don't know if we've ever told that story.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, so I was consulting with another company,
Okay.
and they were exploring the opportunity to move into the government space. And so Mike and I had a mutual contact, and so I was reaching out to a couple firms, consulting firms, for government contracting. And this gentleman recommended Mike's company, C5BDI. And so we hired them. And so he and I started working together. And I, quickly realized one of the reasons why they were having success. I mean, Mike's work ethic, as you're learning, is second to none. So from that point.
I'll never forget that day, man. I was sitting at the bank, actually, in a chair with my wife, Sierra, and I got a call from John, and he's like, hey, have you ever heard of DJ Dozier? And I was like, yes, I've heard of DJ Dozier. Mm-hmm. That dude's a local legend. I knew all about DJ. He's like, I'm going to hook you guys up. I think you can do some cool stuff together. And then you had actually mentioned him in your book.
Right.
Yeah. So in your book
exactly.
you wrote. Yeah. Yeah, we have a podcast that we're doing now. We're on the Good View Network. It's called Decide to Dominate. It's based on DJ's book. I mean, that's blowing up. It's faith-based. Mm-hmm. So we were a different network last year, but we moved over to this faith-based platform. So we're trying to get the message out about that, faith on the field and everything going on. So
I love Decide to Dominate.
Yeah.
That's intimidating, and yet that's also passionate, I guess, or whatever words we could use to that. That's awesome.
Yeah,
I asked you earlier about the game, and you didn't go, it's too cold. But Penn State has kind of always been there, but they haven't been able to push through, and it's been a while. And now last year they did. And now they get the defensive coordinator from Ohio State and pay him $3 million.
Big move.
And it seems like that they've kind of had enough. They're good, but they kind of had enough. They're right there on the edge. Is that what you see too?
Oh, absolutely. And a big part of that is not just the coaching staff, but it's the supporting cast. And what I mean by that, I'm talking about Pat Kraft, the athletic director. He's an absolute go-getter. And, here's a former middle linebacker from Indiana, and he's got that mentality. So, he's going to be relentless. Speaking of relentlessness, he's going to be relentless in going after and having success at the highest level. He wants a championship team, obviously, but he's going to go out and get the things done in order to put the team in a position to get there.
Isn't it weird how you guys met and then here you are and things are going so great?
It's wild. It's wild. Third year in a row, and it's just been great to meet people like you guys.
Yeah,
and appreciate everything.
It's always been good to see you, too. SportsInnovationX.com. Again, all of what they've done, the books, all of what you continued luck, man. You are ahead of the game, and you don't lose the edge because you want to make sure you never let someone catch you.
Exactly,
right?
exactly.
DJ Dozier, Dr. Michael Weatherly. You have
how many people caught DJ in the first place?
Yeah, that's
exactly.
Hell of a player. Golly, hell of an athlete. We are live at Super Bowl 59 week, NFL Media Headquarters at Radio Row.